Good morning, friends. I know it looks dark, and it is, but sometimes that's a better time for me to record because the puppers are sleeping, so they're less likely to be barking while I'm trying to talk. So, today's topic is why boomers are getting a bad rap. It really bothers me. Somebody goes, boomers. And as you know, I consider myself a bloomer and not a boomer. So, there's some things I think we can do to kind of dispel the boomer myth that we're all cranky, miserable, old cusses that feel entitled to get our way all the time. Because I know that's not true. We're not like that. The majority of us aren't anyway. But then again, it just takes a few bad apples to spoil the barrel. You know that saying. So, part of it is because I think as people age, they become more impatient. And it might be because they're not feeling well. They want to get home before dark because you don't want to drive after dark. So many reasons to be impatient. And then when you're impatient, you're short with people. And people sense that because impatience is a form of aggression, whether you think so or not. So maybe try to be less impatient. Give yourself more time, leave the house earlier so you can get in and out of your chores without rushing, or pick days that you know that are less busy at the store, whatever it is. But we've got to learn some patience. We were taught to be patient as kids, and believe me, your mother would be grabbing by you by the ear and pulling you out of that store if you were being impatient and rude to people. Now, we all know that. And if it wasn't your mother, it'd be your next door neighbor. Because where I grew up, anybody that was an adult would step into that kind of behavior. So we learn not to be that way. And I don't understand why the big change in our generation has been that they think that's okay. Because it's just not. It's not okay. Those people in the stores or at the library or the gas station, wherever they are, they're there to help us. And we should be appreciative of that because everybody needs help and it's their job. Now, I'm not saying if somebody's rude to you that you should be kissing their you know what, but you can still be nice about it because, excuse me, now my nose was itchy. Um, they could also be having a bad day. We never know what somebody else is going through. So it's better to be kind. And that's kind of got to be our mantra. As the older people, we need to be an example to the younger people rather than to be vilified as boomers. Let's all be bloomers. Another thing is the Karen thing. I don't know what the heck is going on with that. I always call myself the anti Karen. But anyway, I understand the kind of the call the manager because we were taught to look up to the person in charge to make things right. So that's why they're doing it. However, when they get the manager, they're not acting any better. And I don't think that they should be being rude again to people in the service industries. It is tough. Even in my career, which I dealt with the public, I was shocked sometimes the way people talk to me. And it was a profession where you wouldn't think people would be disrespectful, but they were. And you saw it more and more and more as time went on. Also, a lot of us are know-it-alls. Instead of trying to learn from other and listen to the younger people and really be quiet and listen and hear what they have to say, people are talking over them. In my day, well, that's a no-no. Unless you're asked, don't. Because our day is gone. It's not the same for these young people now. Granted, we have wisdom to share and impart, but really, they have to be receptive to that. And things are so much different. When we bought a house, they weren't on average $500,000. I would never had a house if it was that much because we didn't make that kind of money always. Some of you did, but some of you didn't. Some of us are in the middle of that. But their life is different today. Big difference. I mean, we never had to worry about getting shot at school or some of the crazy things that are happening. So we've got to listen more, I think, just in all different situations and pay attention to social cues. If maybe you are saying something inappropriate or something unwanted, pay attention to your social cues because you can kind of tell by the way people look or react or what they say back to you. Maybe you need to just circle around and change your approach. Because I don't think everybody's doing it to be mean or nasty, but sometimes people aren't aware of the power of their words or actions. I mean, let's stop being rude. We were brought up not to be rude. I know it. I lived it. I know how it was. We had to mind our manners. Men opened the door for the women. Men took their hats off at the table. You said please and thank you. You asked questions nicely. You didn't demand anything. And you let other people speak. You took turns. You had conversation. Today, everybody wants to have a monologue and they don't want to listen what the other person has to say, as the person that's having the monologue says. But you know what I mean. With your other people, you have to pause and let them give their opinions and their answers and ask questions and do it in a nice tone and a kind tone. And you get a lot further. Remember that old adage. You catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar, and it is true. All those old sayings ring true when you think about them. I used to think my grandparents were crazy when they said stuff like that. But now that I'm getting older, I'm like, they really do mean something. And we need to listen to some of that. Because I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I liked the old days when we were growing up and stuff. It was a different time, but we have to adapt. The only constant in our life is change. And the secret to life is how well you adapt to all the changes. And we've had a lot of changes in our lifetime, as each generation before us has, and probably the ones after will have. So we've got to be better listeners and less rude and kinder to people. It's not that hard. And then a lot of people will correct others with Facebook facts, and you all know what I mean. Instead of actual information, they'll read some crazy meme and just think that's the gospel truth. Now, come on. We all know better. We were brought up to think, and just because you see it on the news or on a meme or something, make sure it's right. That's all. A lot of times it is right, but a lot of times it's not. So we need to know what we're talking about, basically, because the kids today are well informed. They're smart. Um, and they know what's going on, maybe more than we do. So try less correcting people unless you actually know what you're talking about. Because I run into this. And sometimes it's just like, are you kidding me? You know, that's not right. And then it makes people uncomfortable. Let's put it that way to be nice about it. And some of the outdated phrases or words, especially to describe people, um, it's just not appropriate. I'm not going to go into what they are because I think everybody kind of knows. So let's stop it. Let's get along because we need the young ones. We just do. It's good for you to interact with young people. It's good for you to be around young people and fresh ideas. And they benefit from you too. But we need to kind of communicate better. I think that's the problem. It's miscommunication. It's usually the problem in almost every situation that people miscommunicate their thoughts or their feelings to another. Because what you have to understand is you may say something that's perfectly innocent in your mind, but that same set of words could be something triggering to someone else due to their own life experience and traumas. Same with you. Everybody has a totally different life experience. Everybody. I don't care if you're in the same family or you're identical twins. It's going to be different. And certain things can trigger certain people. I used to do this all the time at the work when two of the employees were feuding and bring them in, and so said this to me. And this is what I think. And this, then the so-and-so, well, that's not what I meant at all. I meant something positive. You took it the wrong way. And a lot of times that's what it was. It was a miscommunication where they didn't understand the meaning behind what they said to the other person. They were perfectly innocent in what they said, but the other person assigned a different meaning to those words. And it's not necessarily that they were wrong either. They just didn't communicate fully and clearly with one another. And I think that's what we really need to do. And do it in a kind, calm manner. Because being kinder is a good thing. Being helpful in an unassuming way is a good thing. Ask someone if they need help, or ask somebody if they would like your input or your experience or your ideas. Don't force it on them. I think that's where the problem comes in. They feel like the boomers are forcing their opinions onto them. And that probably isn't the intent, but we've got to be conscious of that and figure out ways that we can communicate better with our young people, and also they communicate better with us because we're a community, all different ages, sizes, everything. And the bottom line is we need to build bridges, not gaps. We need to be kinder and we need to be together. So reach out. Say some kind words the next time you're in a store. Even when you're feeling a little frustrated, you can communicate the frustration in a nice way. I think it's important. I'd like to hear what you guys think. Why are we getting a bad rap? Because I guess I'm a boomer. technically, because I'm really a bloomer. So tell me what you think, what's going on, and why there's the disconnect there. Because when we were growing up, I revered my grandparents. We looked to them for advice all the time. My grandmother taught me everything, how to cook, how to bake, everything. She was a wonderful woman, and I spent a lot of time with her. I know they thought, oh my God, here she comes again. Because they lived on top of the hill, and we lived in the bottom of the hill of this small town. I was up there 4, 5, 6 times a day, maybe more, and my grandfather sat at the window where he could see me coming up the hill. And I'm probably sure, he said, here she comes again, Vern. But you know what? They always acted so gracious and happy to see me and listening to me ramble on without interrupting me or correcting me necessarily or whatever. They were just kind. And I always felt welcome. So let's try to be kinder and welcoming and see if maybe we can turn that around because I sure would like to. I would love them to say, aren't those boomers just the greatest people? I think we can do it. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you know when I put out my next video. I try to do them every morning around 8 o'clock. Um, so be kind to yourself and for others. Doesn't cost anything, and you can do it in a moment. So, bye, friends. Until the next time.